Hey everyone, so this is my review of The Flash, Season 4, Episode 9, called Don't Run. And essentially what this episode is about is that Aminet kidnaps Caitlin and sort of forces her to do a very tricky surgery on someone. And then while it's going on, Barry is kidnapped by the Thinker and is sort of trapped in this speed-proof, cell. And this was a really, really interesting and entertaining episode that had a lot of very sort of fun and great moments to it, with how they developed each of the different characters when put in this super stressful situation. And with that, it was really interesting when they did finally have that moment of Iris having to learn that she needs to sort of step up and be the leader and make some of the decisions, because everyone else is sort of waiting around for her to do that. And when they're waiting around, they start to bicker and argue because they're not doing the same tasks and they need someone to sort of help guide them. So that was interesting to see. And then with that, it was interesting to see sort of the development of a relationship between Cisco and Ralph, and them sort of learning to work together even though they don't always agree on the best situations of how to do something. Then everything with Caitlin in this episode was really, really great, with her working to try and still be a hero and be a better version of herself without becoming Killer Frost. And that was just interesting to see when she kept going into these situations and having to do stuff where she could easily accomplish anything if she turned into Killer Frost, but she didn't want to be. So that was just interesting to see that sort of conflicting relationship with that. And then the new person that was introduced alongside Caitlin was really great, where I can't remember his name, but him being a telepath, and how that sort of helped Caitlin and all this different stuff along their missions, and everything there was just interesting and fun to see. Then everything with Barry in this episode and his whole conversation and sort of stuff with the Thinker was interesting, with him being trapped in the cell and sort of starting to understand a bit more of what the Thinker's possible plans are. And then by the end of this episode, it's very much revealed what his plans are. But that was just interesting, with him being stuck in this sort of cell where no matter how fast he ran, and he couldn't phase through the invisible walls and stuff like that. So that was interesting to see how all that worked out. And then actually how he ended up getting out of the cell, which was by basically standing still. And then that sort of affected the cell enough that he got out. And just everything within their conversation, everything that happened there was interesting. And then the ending of this episode, I'm not a huge fan of, with how the Thinker actually ended up healing himself and sort of getting an advantage over Barry in a new way. Just how that was done was interesting and really amazing. But I'm not a huge fan of the Thinker now becoming a new person. Because I really kind of like this actor who was portraying him and how all that was done and stuff like that. And yes, I'm very interested to see how the storyline is going to go with this new guy. But it just wasn't the way I was planning on it going, so I'm interested to see what's going to happen there when the show comes back. But I'm not a huge fan of the idea of him being so mentally strong that he can just switch bodies. But then, just overall, this was a really fun and amazing and entertaining episode to watch and see how everything turned out, and I'm so excited to see where they're going to take the storyline next when the show comes back in January. And just, yeah. So that was my review of The Flash, Season 4, Episode 9, called Don't Run. So, yeah.